The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world that Lou Diamond didn't exist.
It's time to take an inside look at those that are taking their lives, their businesses, and their passions to the next level. Get ready to thrive loud with Lou Diamond.
Welcome to an incredibly special episode of Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond. Because today, we are up to, as the eerie music is playing underneath us, the 666th episode of Thrive Loud. And a lot of people approached me and said, ooh, 666, that's the number of the devil and Lucifer and all these crazy things that have to do with the 666 number, which I kind of knew, but I didn't really know too much about. So we always like to try and understand some meanings behind numbers and meanings behind names. And we are bringing back somebody that certainly knows the name and certainly will be able to opine on this topic because it'll be a fun conversation. She has been on the show before. Back, oh my God, in October of 2018 is when the last time she was here. She is truly an expert in the field of Neimology Science and a wonderful speaker, an incredible author coming to us from Tennessee. Sharón Lynn Wyeth, how are you?
Lou, it's so nice to be with you again. I appreciate the invitation. This is going to be exciting.
This is great. And my team, you know, we have hundreds of people that have been on this show. I went back and we re-listened to that episode. People need to know that Sharón, go listen to it. Episode 203, we'll put the link in the show notes here. She does a whole breakdown of my name, which was fascinating to understand really what was in my name of Lou and Lou Diamond. It was really, really cool. But when this came up, I wanted to just hit a little bit about this familiarity with all these names that have been thrown around, whether from lore or religion or from mythology or whatever it might be. The names that have surrounded the devil. What does that all mean? Let's get into a conversation because that's what people associate the number of the devil, 666. We're going to have fun with this.
Yes. Well, and I've been looking at the name devil and the name Lucifer. And Lucifer is the one that fascinates me because it says he's got a lot of self-confidence. Anybody named Lucifer has a lot of self-confidence and that they can pursue spirituality, but not always see things clearly. Okay. Yeah. And then he needs to be in charge of himself, very independent. But this is the part that really was just interesting to me because I hadn't looked at Lucifer's name before. And it says we have false beliefs. We literally believe lies all around sex. And if you think about the satanic worshipers and all the sexual pedophiles and the acts and whatnot, that is literally right there in the name that we believe lies around sex. And it comes right after. That's what gives us our independence. And then we can be in charge.
So this is really cool. And I'm remembering this conversation, Sharón. For the listeners got to hear this because, and I'll have you refresh this. Someone made the comment, well, you know, I was given my name or whatever it was. Well, Sharón actually has a belief that your name is kind of chosen for you. Can you share that with people? That'll be helpful. Yeah.
When there's still only 7 religions on the planet, they all had certain things they agreed upon. And one of them was that the incoming soul impresses upon the one that's going to name them what they want to be called. So we actually name ourselves.
Right. So this is fascinating because these names around Satan, the devil, and Lucifer, and all of these things, that description you just gave was actually really lined up very much with a lot of the common mythology circled around the devil, specifically the confidence component. I think any movie that we've seen, any book you've read, there's always this character that has this unbelievable confidence. What other names have that extreme confidence just off the top of your head that you could think of?
When it's found in the letter L. Okay. So if you have it like an EL in your name, like in a Michael, okay, that just means that you've got a lot of confidence. Now, notice where the L last in Michael, it's last. So that means that the older you get, the more confident you get. Now,
is it like a progression?
Yeah, it's progression. Now, the other names have it at the beginning, like Lucifer. So that means you're born with it. You come in with this self-confidence in knowing who you are. However, depending on what comes next, you can lose it or you can keep it. So if an A comes after the L, you lose it. And then you look at the rest of the name to see if they get to reclaim it or not. Okay. And then any other letter after the L, they get to keep it. Then if the L is in the middle of the name, it's like they're going to have self-confidence their entire life.
Oh, I like that. I guess I'm only going to have it from the beginning with my name being Lou. But
no, because it's followed by an O, so you're good.
Okay, we're at that piece. Numbers. Do you ever look into, like, a lot of people have some kind of numbers not only mix into their names? Does it come across because, like, in any of the Neimology stuff you do, because obviously yours is more about names, but is it ever looped into any of your studies or common?
Well, there's
practices?
two things that I do with numbers. And the first one is if I'm figuring out what the year's focus is, then I go by the numbers. And what I really do is every one of your letters has a number, and I figure out what year you're in. Like the first letter of your name would be L, so that's a 3. So from 0 to H3, you were really claiming your self-confidence so that you could then keep it when you started on your birthday at age 3, and you went into the O, where you started telling everybody what you wanted because that was the O next. Okay. And so when I'm figuring out the years of what we're focused on during that time period, that's when I use numbers. The 666 to me is very interesting. I go back to the Alice Bailey work, and it's like how she defines the 6 for the 6th plane or the 6th level of consciousness or the 6th whatever. When you go through Alice Bailey's work and she describes the 6, I think that's why the devil was associated with 666 based on her work.
Huh. I love this, by the way. This is fascinating. I could hear this all the day. I was looking at other names that were affiliated with the devil. So these were the other ones aside from Lucifer. There was Satan, Beelzebub, Mephistopheles, which is old, and Iblis. Names I've never obviously heard. Lucifer is probably the only one I guess that still puts in today. I'm just trying to think anything unique about those ones. Well, there's the Beelzebub with the L in the middle there, but it'd be interesting to hear your take on those.
The BL combination says that I don't want to follow anybody else's rules. I want everybody else to follow the rules, but don't ask me to follow the rules. So that's in that name. Okay. But look at how the beginning of both those names start with use. Yes. We're not to use other people. We can utilize their skills and pay them for it, but we're not to use them and take advantage of them. And both of those names start with the word use, which I find is very interesting. Okay. And they also have in there that we're competitive, that we're going to constantly learn how to be better at our craft. And the really curious thing is that we can see things from other people's points of views, even when we disagree. When you have that ability to see things from other people's points of view, I look at it as a positive because you can have compassion for the other person. However, if the rest of your letters in your name are like using somebody else, then you're going to use that, seeing it from their point of view, to convince them over and try to argue more to get them to your point of view. Okay.
I love this. Love it. By the way, people need to know I like geek out on all this stuff. And the first time I heard all this, I'm like, who would ever think it? And by the way, we'll give a plug section again for you to give your updates when we get to it. But Sharón really, she not only knows her stuff when she speaks about it, it's even more impressive. And tons of content with this. When we were thinking of doing this episode, we started looking back at some of the other Neimology thing. I was going to ask this question, and I was thinking of bad things associated with certain names that have come out. We just talked about the fact right before we hit record that they have been coming up with names for hurricanes. Okay. Now I know that there's like a systematic alphabetized thing that they're doing with all these names of hurricanes. And I just want to cover the ones that just hit, if we're talking about bad things, I want to go back to Ida. If there's anything in that particular name, because what usually ends up happening is that they end up retiring these names, and these names end up not being chosen as birth names by a lot of people. And that's what I want to get to, because they had such a bad thing. There's not a lot of Katrinas past 2003. So my thought to you is, first, the name Ida, if it means anything to you on there. And what do you think that thought that I just went through there about how when we start to get a taboo on a name that people keep away from it?
Well, over the years, there's some blogs on my website that go through this. Over the years, the names change, and they always let us know what's important to society at this moment in time, because the names will generally reflect that. And what's fascinating to me is men's names over the years don't really change very much. For example, Joshua and John have been in the top 10 just forever. Okay. But both of those start with the J-O, which is the most brilliant combination you can have. And so, in other words, we're saying we want to keep our men smart, as we're doing that. But on the other hand, women's names have really shifted over the years. And in the past, most names ended with an A or a Y. Both of those are likability. So we wanted our women to be likable. We wanted them pleasant. Okay. And that being likable was important to them. The Y's will change who they are at times and able to get somebody to like them, where the A's say, I've made myself as likable as I can. If you don't like me, oh, well, I'm not changing. Okay. So in the name Ida, it really says we're going to be inclusive. We're going to include everybody we possibly can. Okay. And that's in that I. That's one of the qualities of the first vowel of an I. And then the letter D. D always is associated with clutter. And look at how much clutter it left behind. Okay. And then the A says really that it wants to be liked and it made itself likable. But really what that's saying is I want to be accepted. And if you don't accept me, guess what I'm going to do? If you can't include me, if you can't accept me, clutter's what's next, because that's in the middle.
I love it, by the way. And that whole inclusiveness, it was one of the largest storms that we've had. It literally affected, millions and millions of people. Pretty crazy. Let's do a little catch up on you. I want to do this as a combination of a plug section and what's going on. Share with the listeners what projects you're working on, things you've got going on. We'll put all the show link notes for all your stuff, but anything new on the horizon for Sharón?
Yes, the final and fourth and final book in this Know the Name series, if you want to learn how to do it for yourself, which is called Know the Name, Know the Health, will go on sale at the end of this month of September. And it's not quite done yet. It's still in the proofing stages, but it will be done in time for Christmas. But that's when you can start doing the pre-sale. So I'm really excited about that because our health issues are in our name. For an example, Lou, you have in your last name the letter O. When you have the letter O in your last name, it says through the family lineage, whatever you get in your last name is through the family lineage, you have inherited a susceptibility or a proclivity toward being diabetic. That lasts in your family. Then you have an O in your first name, which says, I'm more susceptible possibly than some of my siblings and other family members because I also have an O in my first name. So according to diet and what you're doing, it's really important for you to watch your sugar intake and not do the things that cause people to become diabetic. And so it's those type of things that are in the Know the Name, Know the Health, really saying if you know where the propensity is in your own DNA coming forward, then you know how to adapt your diet so that you don't cause to have happen that which is in your DNA. Now, the other thing is if something sits just in the first name and it's not in any of the last names or anything, that means your habits of this lifetime can cause you to create that in your body. And so there's a whole chapter on here's the habit, here's the thinking that goes with the habit, but most importantly, here's the underlying emotion that caused the thinking that therefore would cause the habit.
Love it. Always thinking through every possibility, and I will cut down on my sugars. I'm pretty good that way. I'm not the biggest sweet eater. I'm more of a salt guy, but that's okay. I want to do this thing that we do on the show now because we didn't get to do it the first time you were on the show. Sharón, we do something called the speed round of Fun Street. And basically what we do is I'm going to ask you something, and I want the first thing that comes to your mind. These are things that lift you up, that motivate you, that basically make you thrive. Okay? You ready to rock and roll with this?
Yep.
Of late, a song that you love to hear or one that pumps you up?
It's called Shine, and it's by Dee L'Amour. And it's just the most beautiful song that literally says we all get to shine in our own way. And it's just the most uplifting, beautiful music, wonderful tonation in there. And anyway, I just love the song Shine.
Got it. A favorite food that's not a dessert?
Avocado.
Favorite dessert?
Oh, that one's hard because I attempt to avoid those because I have O's in both
O's
my
in your
last
name.
and first name. So it's like, oh no, we don't go there. But I would say just a simple piece of chocolate, just 1 or 2 bites. That's it. That's all I can allow myself.
An activity you wish you did more of?
Dancing.
An activity you wish you did less of?
Exercise.
That's good that you're exercising, though. If I could snap my fingers and you can go anywhere in the world, where are you?
Oh, that's tough because I've been in 76 countries and I'm thinking, do I want to go back or do I have a new one? Really, in my want list is both the country Scotland, okay, and also South Africa. Those are the two next on my bucket list.
Good range. And they could technically be in the same time zone at certain points of the year. Sharón Lynn Wyeth, thank you for coming on the 666th episode of Thrive Loud. We dove into Lucifer. We dove into my names. We broke into some other things. And you've got a book coming out later this year. Only continued success for you as we continue our count moving onward and upward. Thank you for coming on the show.
Oh, my pleasure, Lou. Always a pleasure. I love seeing your show thrive. It is so appropriate and so interesting with the guests that you have on.
To all our listeners out there, keep thriving onward and upward. And remember, be brief, be bright, be gone.
You've been listening to Thrive Loud with your host, Lou Diamond. Head on over to Spotify, Good Pods, or wherever you get your podcasts, and subscribe and listen to all of our incredible episodes. Follow Lou at Thrive Loud everywhere on social media, and head on over to thriveloud.com to connect directly to Lou and learn how you and your business can thrive loud too. Thanks for listening.